good evening, everyone. I know you can hear me, but microphones for those online. I just want to check, is everybody online? We have somebody who's going to just let us know whether or not online is working, that they can hear us. Just want to make sure so that, okay, great, we're good. Thank you very much. All right, be it resolved that the Fairfield Board of Education, we met in executive session. Be it resolved that the board will reconvene from the executive session and we will call the meeting to order at 7:36. The public has been duly informed of this meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by posting at least 48 hours in advance a notice on the bulletin board in Stevenson and Churchill, notice to the Township Clerk, and the notice of the Passaic Herald, the Herald News, and the Progress. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frieda?
Here.
Mr. D. Pascal? Mr. Diddick? Mr. Egan?
Here.
And Ms. Andrea Dunn? Here.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up the part of the meeting for the public to comment on the agenda items only. If there's any comments about the agenda items, this is an opportunity. Okay, we'll close out that portion. Leanna, the budget presentation, please.
I think we're on, yes. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Leanna Rios. I'm the school business administrator for the district. Every year, normally, I do a budget presentation for the upcoming school year. In the last board meeting, the board adopted what's called a tentative budget. And now for this board meeting, we're approving the final budget. Okay, this is a process that the state pretty much sets via statute. So that is what I will be presenting today, which is the actual final adoption of the budget and public hearing. So the first thing I would like to discuss is the mission statement. The community of Fairfield Public School is committed to providing an environment which cultivates individual abilities, respects differences, and nurtures responsibility and cooperation. The district's goals, they normally change every so often, so the current goals, which are also located on the district website, are as follows: to review and revise board policies as per teaching and learning during a pandemic and related public health circumstances, ensure a robust and timely communications program to engage the community in planning the facility needs for a referendum, implement an action plan for any potential outcome of the referendum vote, and participate in professional development to improve best practices in school board governance. So basically, every school district has a calendar that they must follow. This calendar is provided to us by the Department of Education. So depending when a school district has their election, whether it's April or November, there's a certain calendar that we all must follow. So in our case, we're considered a type 2 school district with a November election. So this is pretty much the key dates that we must abide when we're preparing for the budget. So around mid-January, normally what happens is that this calendar is released to us by the Department of Education, and then we start the planning process, where in January, around mid-January, early February, what we start doing is we start looking at what are the contractual benefits. We also discuss with the principal and administrators what are the current needs for the upcoming school year. So normally I have a Google sheet, and I'll share that with the administrators, and they pretty much go in, they'll put their needs, and then at some point, if there's something that I have a question on, we'll get together, we'll discuss, any concerns or issues that I may have. We're also looking at our staffing needs for the upcoming school year. Normally around March 8th, this year it would have been February 22nd, the governor does his budget address. When the governor does his budget address, 48 hours later, the state aid is released, okay? Unfortunately, this year it was rescheduled. It was due to take place February 22nd, but we had to, it was rescheduled, so the governor did not do his address until March the 8th. 48 hours later, March 10th, we received our state aid allocation. And this is every school district, it's not just Fairfield Board of Ed. March 22nd, the board adopted the submission of the preliminary budget for DOE. So that goes back to what I said earlier. Normally we present a tentative budget, the board votes on it, and then here we are today, April 28th, adopting the final budget and having a public hearing. So what are the goals of this budget? So the goals for this budget are as follows. We would like to continue school clubs at both schools. We also want to continue funding for out-of-district transportation and tuition. So what is out-of-district transportation and tuition? Basically, that is any child that has a special need where in the district you may not necessarily be able to provide those services, so a child may have to get these services outside of our district. So that is exactly what out-of-district tuition and transportation is. Also, the health, safety, security, and learning aesthetics of each classroom environment. Integrating technological advances into student curriculum. Ensuring a tax levy of 2%. Continue to maintain small class sizes. Support the social and emotional needs of students and staff. And to continue professional development in pertinent areas. What kind of additions are we looking to do for the upcoming school year? We're looking at 1 additional special education teacher and 1 behaviorist. As some of you know, there has been an increase in some of the special needs services. So what we're doing to prepare for that is we're looking to add 2 new additional staff members to be able to address that need. So the numbers. Because Fairfield School District is such a small school district, most of our revenue is made up of local taxes. How much of that? 12.375 million, okay? So it's a significant amount. If you look at our total budget of 14.3, that's a huge chunk, okay? What are other sources of revenue? Tuition income, okay, that is our preschool tuition that we have. We also receive extraordinary aid. That pretty much is any special needs services that we provide over and above a threshold established by the state. Rents and royalties, as you know, sometimes we have out-of-district organizations that may use our facilities, the gym, our fields, etc. Interest, just like some of you may have bank accounts and you're an interest, so does the school district. So that's pretty much what that is. State aid, as I mentioned before, when the governor does his budget address, 48 hours later, we get our state aid, which was 870, a significant increase. The majority of that increase was special education aid. Fund balance, 497,000. Federal grants, all right, so that is where your IDEA grant, ESEA grants come into play. That's 192,000. Normally what I do is I budget 85%, just because we really don't know what that number is going to be until we submit the application over the summer. So to be conservative, I always budget 85% of prior year. Student activities, 34,000, and capital reserve withdrawal, 310,000. Capital reserve, it's not really a revenue, okay? It's pretty much another pot that we're able to tap into for very specific needs. Capital projects, whether it's a roof, a boiler, an electrical panel, etc. So it's not really a revenue, but it is included in our revenue calculation. So this is just for those of you who prefer a visual. You can see that, like I mentioned earlier, the majority of our revenue comes from local taxes. So where's the money going? Here are the different categories. Regular instruction is about 4.8 million. Special education, about 2.3. Tuition for out-of-district, 185,000. Support services, 638,000. State and federal programs, 192. Operations and maintenance, 1,254,000. Transportation, 776,000. Employee benefits, 2.463 million. Capital outlay, 310. Administration, 1,365,000. And student activities, 34,478. So unlike corporations, we don't really work as a profit, right? We have to have a balanced budget. So that's why you'll see state, 192, same as the amount on the revenue. Same thing with student activities, same as the amount on their revenues. So I wanted to talk a little bit about transportation, okay? Because I know you see that budget and some of you might think, wow. So I just wanted to expand a little bit on that 776,000. Oh, again, I'm sorry, this is the visual. As you can see, the blue part is regular instruction, followed by employee benefits and special education. So the transportation budget. Of that total 776,000 that's in the budget, that is made up of different types of transportation. What are they? Aid and lieu, field trips, okay, routing, basically the routing of the bus routes, special education, and regular education. So regular education is basically your regular education students being transported from home to school. The regular education budget is only 380,000 of the 776. It's important to know that the subscription busing fees is supplementing regular education budget, okay? It's not that, it's in addition to, right? So it's not, I don't want anyone to get the impression, oh, we're saving, no. We actually had to supplement our transportation budget, okay? So that's where the subscription busing fees come into play. So this is a little bit of a graph, and I know for some of you who may not do this every day, might be a little confusing, but what is the tax impact? So we're school year, so we, unlike the towns, we don't work on a calendar year basis. So when we're doing our budget, and I'm doing the calculation, I have to take half of the prior year and half of the other year, right? So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. So this is pretty much the calculation that shows the calendar year versus the school year budget. So long story short, if you look at the 2021 calendar, the total tax levy is 12.098 million. 2022 calendar year is 12.295. So if you look at the bottom calculation, when you take those numbers, if you divide it by the estimated net taxable valuation, which is listed on there, when you do that calculation, you get a school tax rate of 0.00381 for 2021 and 0.00386 for 2022. So just so that you have an idea, the estimated net taxable valuation, that's information that we normally get from the town, okay? And then if you look at the cost of the average home, again, that's also something that we get from the town. When your house gets assessed, right? That's where we get these, the town obtains these prices from. So when you take the 0.00386 or 39 cents, and you take that with the cost of the average home, that gives you what is your annual tax, school tax, okay, for the 2022 calendar year. And the difference of that is $266, okay? So this is more of a user-friendly slide. So again, it's just some calculation that takes place. You see your 39 cents there, showing the annual tax on your average home, assessed at $589,600, and you'll see an annual property tax increase of $266.84 school tax for the calendar year. Okay, that's pretty much it for the budget. So I'll go ahead and I'll pass it on to the board president.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gonna take a little detour of what we usually do because the budget presentation, and Leanna, thank you so much, very informative. If there's any questions on the budget presentation itself, I'll open up the meeting at this point to address any questions anybody may have, since it was just discussed and it's fresh in everybody's mind. Okay. All right, I mean, if you have any questions when we open up later on, feel free to ask them then, but I figured if anybody had any questions at this point. All right, Dr. Secretary?
Thank you. Okay, so under personnel, certificated staff, the recommendation is to approve the 2022 Summer Skills Program staff appointments as listed. Number 2, to approve the 2022 Extended Summer Child Study Team appointments as listed. Number 3, to approve the 2022 Extended Summer School Year Certificated Staff appointments as listed. And number 4, to approve the renewal of the non-tenured certificated staff as listed. Number 5, to approve a new position of a 12-month position for a board certified behavior analyst for the 22-23 school year effective July 1 of 2022. Number 6, to approve the CRRSA ESSER 2 funds revisions as listed. Then moving to B, non-certificated staff, we have a resignation. So the recommendation is to approve to accept a letter of resignation from Lou Ann Labasso, effective approximately May 13th of 2022, with regards, best wishes, and appreciation for her over her 6 years of service here to the students of Fairfield. Number 2, to approve the reappointment of the non-tenured paraprofessionals, secretaries, and custodians as listed. Number 3, to approve the job description revisions. For C, to approve the substitutes as listed. And we also have one addendum under personnel to accept the letter of resignation from Melissa Fazzini, effective May 1st, 2022, with appreciation for her service to the students of Fairfield.
Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Frida,
Yes.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Candoli,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, under curriculum and program, the recommendation is to approve the 21-22 school calendar revision as listed. For B, to approve the curriculum revisions for guidance, world language, and social studies. C, to approve the comprehensive equity plan extension for the 22-23 school year. D, to approve the professional development workshops as listed. And E, to approve the safe return plan revision. And that revision, just so that everybody knows, is that we updated the mask requirement to being mask optional.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Frida,
Yes.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Candoli,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, policy A, to approve the hit investigation confirmation. For B, to approve the following policy and regulation second readings. And that's it for policy.
Second.
Mr. Frida,
Yes.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Candoli,
Yes.
motion carries. So for the business office, we have the minutes for the March 22nd board meeting. Letter B, the bills and claims list, as well as the March 30th and April 14th payroll. Followed by the transfer of funds for February. There were no transfers in March. Then we have the Secretary and Treasurer report for the month of February and March. Letter E, the adoption of the final budget for the 22-23 school year. Letter F, the travel expenditure budget for the 22-23 school year. Letter G, travel and related expense reimbursement for the 22-23 school year. Letter H, a capital reserve account withdrawal. Letter I, maximum professional services for the 22-23 school year. Letter J, a recommendation to give authorization to Eric North for us to, bear with me 1 second here. Oh, apply for the safety grant for the 22-23 school year. Letter K is a recommendation to sign an agreement with Kid Clan Services for speech and language services. Letter L is a recommendation to award the electrical panel upgrade project at Stevenson to Lenore Electric Inc. in the amount of $346,000. Letter M is a recommendation to approve the submission and acceptance of the CRRSA Amendment Number 2. Letter N is accepting the grant in the amount of $534.03 from the D Fleet Living Library Fund, who's the trustee of the Community Foundation of New Jersey. This was a grant that was awarded to the Winston Churchill School Library. Letter O is a recommendation for a voice service contract with Altice. Letter P, a recommendation for an agreement with Altice for internet service. Letter Q, a recommendation to sign an agreement with ACES Cooperative Pricing Agreement for utility services. And that is pretty much all that I have for the business office items.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion? First of all, let me just say I want to thank the D Fleet Living Library Fund for their grant money. Thank you very much. I always appreciate it. Leanna, the other thing is, can you quickly, it doesn't have to go into detail, but some may look at the bids that came in and wonder why did we go with the bid that we did and what makes that decision?
So normally what happens is whenever we have a bid, our attorney gets the opportunity to review the bids just to make sure that the bidder submitted all of the paperwork required. And if for some reason they find something is missing or not completed correctly, they will determine that to be a material defect. And at that point, that award, even though it is the lowest, cannot be awarded. So for that reason, after reviewing all of the bids that were received, it was determined that the two lowest bidders had material defects. Therefore, we had to go with the third lowest bidder, which ended up being Lenore Electric.
Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Frida,
Yes.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Jandoli. Yes. Motion carries.
Right now, open up any old business to discuss? Any new business? Committee reports?
Committee reports for finance. We'd like to thank the efforts of Leanna and her team in the business office for putting together the budget and the budget presentation. And also in terms of the town liaison committees, myself and Anthony DePascal, we continue to meet with the town and keep working on an open line of communication with the town, the township administrator, the mayor, and trying to make sure that we can continue to work in a manner where we can keep them abreast of what's happening here and work to best serve the town.
Any other questions? Any other committee reports? Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and open up the meeting to the public for public comments on non-agenda items. Any comments or questions? This is an opportunity for you to come forward. Quickly, I think I saw you signed in, right? You can do it afterwards.
But
Just-
I didn't have a question, told
Okay,
me.
you can just state your name, you don't worry about the address until you sign it. Thank you.
Nicole Sudol. I have two questions, hopefully they're quick so I can squeeze two in. With the curriculum revisions and the equity plan, when will we be able to see those on the website? Because I know the stuff that's been updated already, it's there in red and we can see that it's been up. When can we see these reflected? Because there's no red in those areas and they haven't been approved since, 2017. So when can we get our hands on it? I'd like to know.
Okay, and we'll take the questions and we'll follow.
My second question was regarding busing. I might have missed it. Was it ever discussed, is it able to be discussed, adding an aid on these buses now for, actually, I guess it's more of a move to Churchill. With 3rd and 6th on the bus for Churchill, have we ever looked into introducing aids to the buses? I think that's a big gap on a bus. I mean, and kids get crazy on buses. So I don't know if that's ever been discussed, if it's ever been looked at in the budget, if it's an option to be discussed. But as the parent of a 3rd grader possibly returning to district, I'm more concerned about that than coming to this building. Because I feel there's a lot of adults here to watch them as our bus is different. So I don't know if that's ever been asked or if it's a possibility.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll have an opportunity, we'll open up afterwards for any other questions. Any other questions before I close out this part? Okay, we'll go ahead and, Dr. Cicatelli, regarding the curriculum changes to the website, question?
So the curriculum changes can't go onto the website until the board approves them. So then after that, it takes about 5 business days just to get everything up and out. So it'll be up there within a week. Yeah, less than a week. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome. What was the other one that you asked about? The
Aids on the buses.
No, the other thing she wants to know is going to be on the website. Yeah.
What was approved,
Just all the updates.
everything that was approved tonight.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then the aids on the buses, I know that it's very costly. We've looked at, aids in the past, and it did cost a lot of money. I don't have those figures on me right now. But right now, we are having staffing shortage with busing to begin with, so to try to put aids on the bus, that besides the cost, I think it's a staff issue as well.
So, just to expand on that, in addition to their, we're having a hard time, right, finding staffing. But in addition to finding the staffing, the aides that we do have, in the beginning, we were having them on the buses, but the problem was that we felt they were better needed in the classroom. So that's where we ended up having to pull them from the buses and put them in the classroom. And staffing shortage just made it all the more worse.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up again for questions, the new format. If there's any follow-up questions or any questions that somebody may have thought about, opportunity to come forward. All right, I'll close out that portion. So it'll be resolved that the next meeting will be held here in person on May 24th with executive session at 7 p.m. and the public session to start at 7:30. Here, like I said, in the same gym at Churchill School. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Everybody online, thank you. Everybody here, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.